the floor is open for questions. We should collect four, five questions.
Yeah. Give me your number.
Okay, so let's collect 4 or 5 questions and then
Give me your number.
questions, sir. And keep your questions direct and short, please.
Based your views on your one issue in Haryana, is that the land, we just talked to one person. Another basic of this you inferred that it's a good sign that democracy is not being there. So I just wanted you to walk your comments on this.
I didn't want to tie up with the details of many.
Okay,
Let's collect questions. Sir.
We have got accustomed to exit polls being inaccurate. But this one is amazing. It's not a question of what media people thought. Here were these agencies, with the exception of the access, which also still didn't quite reach the mark of, Congress. Why? How did they get this so wrong?
Okay, that question is really okay. Next time I'll do a poll. Yamini, you should start funding. You should do a poll.
Yes, sir. I want that it has been said, particularly you have said, that there is no rural-urban divide in this election. I want to know, can you clarify more on this? I feel rather, it was the rural section where BJP lost more.
Can I say something on this? Can I say
We'll
something?
let you collect some questions.
So I have two short questions. First, what will be the impact on the leaders, especially Maharashtra and Haryana, especially because of last election, AAP has got almost 5% votes in Haryana, but this year they got less than quota votes. And we are seeing the pattern from 2014 to 2019, from 54% to they are getting only 18%. So what is that? And second, the shift in minority politics of BJP, especially after Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas. But we have seen BJP has lost, especially almost all minority dominated areas, especially in Mewar, where two MLAs from different parties have shifted to BJP, still they have lost. So, is there any changes in such kind of rhetoric?
Just two questions. One is a bit empirical. I just want to know, is there any data to suggest that what was the voting percentage when it comes to the farming community? Is there some kind of analysis that where, in which part, which way did the farming community specifically in both states vote? And second is a more of a theoretical question, meaning as a political reader, over the years, nationalism is, correct me if I'm wrong, nationalism is a very fragile concept. And somehow do you see that now that after these elections, again I'm not saying that something is going to happen, but do you see this nationalism as an identity which is more weaved politically into the identity question? Meaning, you see a decline of that curve happening, meaning the mainstream party, that is the BJP, has to now look at some very fundamental germane issues which are developmental issues. So do you think this particular election, as some of the panelists rightly said, that there's a knock, so that knock or nudge, whatever you want to say, would it lead to some kind of a rethinking amongst BJP?
Should I start responding to answer any question?
No, but I didn't know. What's the focus? Question focus?
So it's basically what I mean to say is...
Pardon?
What I mean to say is that how would you perceive that now the curve is now going down from nationalism to the government, the mainstream party has to now focus more on developmental issues. Like, for example, they have to look at agrarian distress, they have to look at the economic slowdown, they have to look at joblessness, they have to look at the basic aspects. So there's going to be a rethink in the strategists. I mean, I don't want to name them, but
See, as a journalist, nobody likes to defend government or speak on behalf of it. But first of all, I don't take anything like this kind of a talk, which because we read newspaper also, we also have input of perceptions everywhere around us, but we also do reporting and meet actual leaders. So first of all, I just don't think that Modi's attention is off economy. He is thinking of it. I mean, as a journalist, I know, I don't know him, but we know, we report. So first of all, they are totally on the focus, their focus is on economy, and it's not that just because these 2 elections have come, they will change something big. As I said, I don't see this as a earth-shattering event at all. The only reason, I have explained how it is. So first of all, they are onto it, they are doing things are not, they are not doing it the best of the manner, that is obvious, because they have not succeeded yet, first of all. And second, Modi, this is a thing which is going on since many years, I would say since 2002 in the case of Modi, that I don't think any years except in 2-3 days speech of a very big election campaigning, he never takes out that idea of he being a man of development. 2002 to 19, he's continuously. So even that will remain and that continues. So let me tell you another thing. It's little off your question, but it's very important to understand how people like me, who are a journalist and knowing Congress, keeping equidistance from Congress and BJP and working hardest to know both sides. So I think 24, some scholars in Ashoka University or CPS would do a thorough analysis, which was the more important election, 2014 or 2019, for India, not for BJP. And what was, I think, after Bangladesh event, I'm still, every day I think on this question, how and the way they have done, BJP, this government, Article 370 change, it's not even a constitutional change in a way, that because 370 remains, so खोखा है अंदर से act निकल गया, have happened before, and how it has, and most astonishing thing, and it requires not 1 PhD but 10 PhDs, that how people are supporting it. She said this right now. Amazing. It's a phenomenon in itself. So in that big, we are in the middle of that big phenomenon. So this 2 election, how much it will impact that big question. We are witnessing something so big happening since 2019, through 2019 election and because of 2019 election is so big that ये अभी एक छोटा सा event हो गया. It is like that. So something in India is changing very, very fundamentally in last 6 months. It is changing. And we'll have to observe and go to people more and understand. But Modi is at the center point of it, of course. But something is happening beyond Modi, I'm saying. And I can't finish in this discussion, but it's something very interesting happening. I went to Kashmir before 5th August. So I'm saying 3 days before this happened. So I was there for 6 days. So I saw Kashmir on the ground just because, and now I'm going on 30th. So I'll tell you, Kashmir is a part of our psychology. It's part of it's part of our public standing in the region. And something has happened there, and how people are supporting. Rajmohan Gandhi had written one article in Indian Express 3 years back, I think, and he had said, he had accepted that no prime minister can change people's feeling for Kashmir, the way people of India relate to Kashmir. So in that sense, I'm saying that, of course, development is on there, and no government, and Modi, a person who can, from chief minister and with a baggage of 2002 riots, can come to Delhi and get such a brute majority, second time also, so it proves that 2014 was not fluke, can win the most difficult political battlefield of Uttar Pradesh on the planet, win twice. So it is too much to say that he is not thinking of economy, which is in a very bad shape, and we are all, I mean, farmers are particularly suffering, there is a discontent. Okay, so that is one thing. So my answer is this, that it is on their radar. It's not now it will come. Now they will learn the lesson, and as I have explained just before, that it is about caste engineering. Because, you know, they have said this, but it's a very, aapke liye hi main bata rahi hu, that a very interesting, how difficult is always BJP's case compared to Congress. So when Amit Shah was talking about Congress Mukh Bharat, I knew that those who have reported Congress, we know. As Ram Guha has written in his book that Congress is like a Ganga. Every color, shades, caste, everything can go. But BJP is not that. BJP themselves self-attained, self-attested, I mean, they चाल चरित्र चेहरा कह रहे हैं. फिर चाल चरित्र चेहरा करो और फिर इतने सारे लोगों को नहीं ला सकते हो. So there is a pressure within also which is rejecting this. So I just tell you that in Haryana, Jat, Dalit and Muslim contribute nearly 50% of Haryana population. And there are about 55 seats having more than 40% of this combination in Haryana. And 70 seats are having more than 30%. So once Jats decide caste, and when Congress sent the message through Shailaja, and Muslims are already dissatisfied with the government, you don't need anything more to say about that. So they were beginning with a baggage this time, once Huda came into the picture in a proper way. So, and also, I just wanted to add to this. Okay, yes, हम बाद में बात करें.
Just, if I may just add to what Sheila just said, which is, I don't think these election results, by the way, are a rejection of Hindu majoritarian politics. Let's also not forget that Bhupinder Hooda of Congress actually supported the revocation of Article 370. So the needle has moved rightwards in a way that I don't think can be set back by these election results.
And also we are living in such a bitter reality and a very tough time and troubled times that, I'm sorry, I'm crossing in some kind of a limit, but in a given situation, in less than 2 years, Sharad Pawar can be supporting even BJP. It's not that I mean, so many times Sharad Pawar has praised Economic Times interview just 1.5 years back, a very interesting interview that Modi is doing different things, new things.
Election also they indirectly.
Okay, thanks.
अभी लोग चाय पी के आपस में बात करेंगे पहले सबको आंसर जी.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm not sure that anyone in the panel actually mentioned it, but maybe it would be good to remember that the BJP actually won these 2 elections. And so before we write some sort of a reverse script on what's been happening for the past 5 years, I mean, I think it's good to keep cognizance of that. But to address your question, I don't know that these elections are basically some sort of a plebiscite for or against the tropes of nationalism. I think they simply reveal that you can't fight and expect to win decisively a state election only on those nationalistic issues. And so the idea that you can trump ground realities, economic realities by basically waving flags on citizenship, on Article 370, and so forth is not going to cut it. And I would expect the BJP to understand it, and I would expect perfectly the BJP to adapt itself in the coming election. If you look at the discourse of the BJP in election for the past 5 years, it has actually shifted many times already. Yeah. The all-in development at the cost of every other issue, worked for them in 2014. And when they had first bumped in the road, they shifted it to welfare. Yeah. And when the welfare started to bit wavering, and the whole issue on whether it's effective or not, whether state came up, then they came back with those nationalistic issues and the muscular politics and the Pakistan and so forth. So my sense is that they're perfectly capable of finding yet another plank for the next election. This is a party that is not as rigid as we imagine, and it's part of its strength. The question you had on the data on farmers, we simply don't have any data. I mean, so I would not venture a response. Only to say that Nilanjan's data actually has revealed in recent elections that districts or constituencies that have a large agricultural laborers population have actually returned very different outcomes between state and general election. I mean, that's probably a large part of the explanation on what explains the difference of outcome in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh between December and the following spring.
So I'll take two or three, I think, things that have not been seen. So let me. I'll say a little bit about data, and then something about I think authoritarianism and nationalism, which I think has been a major theme of the panel. So one thing on the exit polls, and this is something that we're I think starting to realize. So we have to understand what it is that Axis does. They actually go to every constituency and run a reasonably large survey. So there's such
very large.
Very large. So it's less a survey and more a census, really. I mean, it's closer to a census than a survey. Now, what this is telling you, given that they are getting so much closer than everybody else, is that it's not that voters are lying to you, it's that our agencies are really bad at polling. Right. What they're doing is essentially giving you very non-representative samples. It's a very hard thing to do, right? To run into a place and get them. They're giving you very, very non-representative samples and then trying to make claims about what will happen a couple of days later based on that. Because this is actually a pretty clean test of lack of representativeness in the sample. Now, on the rural-urban phenomenon, so look, I mean, there are a couple of things. So one is the complexity of defining what rural is, right? So rural and farmer are not the same thing. There are a lot of non-farmers living in rural areas. But the other thing that I would say is that we have seen situations in which there are very strong rural-urban effects coming out in data, and there are ones that are not. Let me explain why it's not coming out in this data. Much of Haryana and Maharashtra, large parts of it, are rural. You are looking at particular regions which are rural and saying, look, there's been a flip. But you're forgetting that there are other regions that are also largely rural, even in and around cities. We teach in Sonipat, look around, just once you're out of the city, look around what you're seeing. Those are places that are not flipping. If you look at the Haryana map, those places didn't flip, right? So that kind of structure makes it very hard to pick up rural-urban differences writ large. Now, it could be intersecting with some local reality, but then the explanation has to be rural plus plus, yes, not just rural. Now, something on nationalism and authoritarianism. I think, let me be a little more negative about the prospects of democracy. I mean, I actually, I don't believe that, despite stuff that I've been writing recently, that India is a non-democracy. India is still very much a democratic country. But I think that there's an assumption, because of where politics is today, that Modi is the only authoritarian. If we think about the history of the politics of the 90s, we had a lot of mini authoritarians in a lot of states, and they're still there. And if we think about the language that we employed for, you need someone like Sharad Pawar to be able to fight against what we're not really talking about a mass democratic movement that is fighting against the BJP. We're talking about personalities, people with charismatic authority, people who play clientelistic and patronage politics themselves. And that, unfortunately, the phrase competitive authoritarianism is reserved for a different set of cases. But what we don't talk about the fact that when you have a star like Modi at the center, and somebody who is not as bright, not in terms of intelligence, but in terms of popularity, like Qatar or Fadnavis, what impact that has. What is local party branding for the BJP in Haryana and Maharashtra vis-a-vis what the branding that the other parties have? And the fact that people are still looking to personalities and charismatic authority when they're making voter choices is not necessarily a positive development for the democratic culture in state elections.
I'm going to close this discussion because there is heavy traffic, I've heard, and everybody wants to go home on the occasion of Diwali. But if you like any one of us and have questions, hold us outside, ask questions, and only then let the person go. But thank you, Sheila ji, thank you, Supriya, Jeel, and Neelan for coming. Thank you so much.